Congressman Don Bacon of Nebraska also reacted, saying, quote, "This is really dumb," adding, quote, "There is no upside to demeaning our friends," unquote. In another post, Congressman Bacon wrote, "Russia and China love it, so stop the stupid 'we want Greenland' BS." Let's bring in the man who wrote those posts, Republican Congressman Don Bacon. He's also a retired Air Force Brigadier General. He's on the House Armed Services Committee. Congressman, the White House just reiterated that U.S. military action to acquire Greenland is not off the table. Have you talked to anybody in the White House, President Trump, Secretary of State Rubio, or anyone else in the administration about this?
Well, not since Miller's comment yesterday, but I hope Republicans stand up against this, universally oppose and give the feedback to the president, because this is appalling. Greenland is a NATO ally. We have a base on Greenland. We could put 4 or 5 bases on Greenland. They wouldn't mind that. They would make agreements with us on mining. Denmark is one of our best friends. They had more people per capita die in Afghanistan and Iraq fighting for us in Iraq and Afghanistan. So they're a proven ally. So the way we're treating them is really demeaning, and it has no upside. All it does is making our NATO allies angry. It's creating distrust, and there is no upside to it. And we're not going to acquire Greenland. I know most people in Greenland want to remain independent Greenland, with Denmark providing some protection, and they count on us. We're NATO allies. We have bases there, and we can build on that. So this is one of the silliest things I have heard come out of the White House in the last year, and it's unacceptable. And I hope other Republicans line up behind me and make it clear to the White House it's wrong.
Let's turn to Venezuela, because you've advocated for the Trump administration to focus on the people of Venezuela rather than the oil companies. The U.S. Energy Secretary is meeting with oil executives this week, despite industry sources telling CNN that they're unlikely to dive headfirst into Venezuela because of all the political instability. Are you going to bring this up in the all-members briefing on Venezuela tomorrow?
Well, I'm going to definitely sit in the briefing and listen to what they have to say. Here's my concern, and I would say, yes, our companies got nationalized and their assets were taken by Venezuela. So there's legitimate claims here that should be balanced. But that should not be our focus. Our focus should be on the fact that Maduro and Chavez ruined Venezuela. They ruined their democracy, they took them from the wealthiest country in South America to the poorest. They've lost their political freedoms, their liberties. That should be where we're focused. There's a lady named by Machado and her number 2 person, Gonzalez. They won the election. We should be talking about putting them in power, not the current vice president, who is also the illegitimate vice president. And I just think if we got to stick on a higher plane here. If it's about oil and putting our cronies into power, this is not going to look good in the long run. If we do the right thing and put the people who rightfully won the election, and we work with them on making sure that they pay back our companies, that's fair enough. But let's restore democracy and human rights and prosperity to Venezuela.
We're going to interview Democratic Senator Mark Kelly in just a few minutes, a fellow veteran. You retweeted a post that said that the Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, his decision to try to cut Senator Kelly's retirement pay from the Navy is, quote, cheesy and low class, but conceded that Kelly's video telling U.S. service members to disobey illegal orders, you say that's foolish. Do you think Congress should get directly involved in this?
Well, I think we will if the Hegseth goes through with this. We should. I don't defend the video, even though people have a right to their freedom of speech. I thought, first of all, they were quoting the law, so you're not going to be able to punish Senator Kelly for quoting the law. But it was obviously meant to politicize the military. They were stating things that we were taught day one in the military. I served nearly 30 years in the Air Force. You're taught this all the time. We only follow lawful orders. But we should have just kept the focus on the video. But when the president and the secretary talk about treason, sedition, calling back Kelly and court-martialing him, now they're saying, no, we're just going to downgrade his last rank so he gets paid less. It's not right. And they're doing something, they were quoting the law in this video, so they don't really have a leg to stand on. And I just think it's an overreaction, and I think Americans are tired of it. I thought the video was an overreaction, but I think people just want to see some grown-ups in the room and some common sense and decency. Well, put the focus on the video. By threatening, demoting him, and paying him less, now you become the focus, and it's not a good focus.